Hello class, and welcome to FNAF-ology 101. My name is Professor Petal. Please open your textbooks to FNAF World. Again. Yep, we're back in FNAF World. In our last FNAF World lecture, we studied the loading screens of playable characters and some minor character dialogue. In this lesson, we're going to focus on the major character dialogues, Glitch Bear and Fredbear. Oh, and Spooky Eyes. I'm going to make some bold claims and answer some big questions about FNAF World, its characters, happiest day, and more, but there's a bit of dialogue to go through first. It's necessary to go over Glitch Bear and Fredbear's dialogues to lay the groundwork for understanding what Spooky Eyes says, which is where the bulk of this theory actually comes from. Let's back up. If you're unfamiliar, FNAF World is a silly little spin-off FNAF RPG from 2016 that was released after FNAF 4. It's quite an adventure. It was received poorly when it first released due to its cutesy style and story that differed heavily from previous FNAF gameplay and topics, but it appears to be well liked nowadays. If you know anything about FNAF World, you'll know it's extremely meta. They break the fourth wall constantly. Scott himself is the final boss. There's an entirely different mobile port that's just straight up shenanigans, etc. The meta-ness of FNAF World makes it confusing to use in theory crafting, since it's hard to tell what's actual lore material and what's a meme. Scott said this about FNAF World in his first interview with Dawko.
I should have just done something that was obviously for fun and not tried to somehow tie it in to a canon game.
Even though Scott may regret tying FNAF World into the game's continuity, it does have some bearing on the game lore. The majority of the game is just nonsense, though. If you're interested in some of that nonsense, you can check out my previous FNAF World video. But today we're here for the lore. In FNAF World, when you're talking to Adventure Fredbear, if you wait a bit, you can find a spooky little 8-bit Fredbear, or Glitch Bear. This funky guy will direct you to find clocks in the game and solve puzzles for each one. These puzzles set up the minigames that lead to Happiest Day in FNAF 3. Today we're going to analyze Adventure Fredbear and Glitch Bear's dialogues. We're going to look at their lines in tandem, since they are often corresponding. You may think you've heard all of these already, but I was surprised by how many I'd never seen before or had only heard partial quotes of. The main questions I will answer today are, what even is FNAF World? Why does it matter, and how does it connect to the rest of FNAF's story? What are the identities of Glitch Bear, Adventure Fredbear, Spooky Eyes, and the player of FNAF World? And what are everyone's goals? Well, to start, I believe the player of FNAF World is you. When Glitch Bear says you need to help him find his way, Glitch Bear is talking to you, the human player you. You are the player of FNAF World, even though you don't exist in the games. FNAF World is a love/vent letter to fans. Scott has like 4 self-insert characters that address the fandom directly. This may be confusing, but FNAF World is a very meta game. Glitch Bear breaks the fourth wall multiple times, so it's not impossible to think he would speak to the player directly. Think about it. No one in-universe is actually creating the Happiest Day minigames. Even if you believe arcade theory, where the minigames are actual in-universe arcade games, the FNAF 3 guard is still not physically clicking on a poster of Balloon Boy and being transported into an 8-bit dimension. They're a game mechanic, an abstract way to convey the lore. You're not in the games, but your actions progress the story. That's how video games work. Well, the same logic applies here, but the game is simply acknowledging it this time. For now, that leaves the true meaning of FNAF World and Glitch Bear, Fredbear, and Spooky Eyes' identities and purposes. Are they also meta NPC game mechanics? Well, yes and no. It's hard to explain without referencing the dialogue, so let's cover that first and then we'll circle back to the identities of our favorite FNAF World bears. This video does build on the loop victim theory from my previous video. If you haven't seen it, the super brief explanation is that the crying child is stuck in an agony memory loop after he dies, which is what we see in FNAF 4, until he breaks free and rewrites his memory to his happiest day. With all that out of the way, let's get started. I know you may feel like going out and taking a stroll, but something seems very wrong today. All is not well in Animatronica. Animatronic Village? Village-tronica? We are working on it. The point is that something is horribly wrong. There have been lots of bizarre creatures roaming around lately, some that even look like
us. We aren't prepared to deal with situations like this. Something bad must have happened on the flip side. Go see what you can find. Be careful though, our wood-cutting auto chipper has gone haywire. It's been jump scaring me all day.
But you don't really believe that, do you? There is a task for you to complete. You need to leave breadcrumbs for him to help him find his way. First, take note that Fredbear isn't referring to FNAF World when he says the flip side. We can assume he's talking about the outside, real world of the games instead. I see a lot of people refer to FNAF World as the flip side, but it's the other way around. The flip side is the surface world. Now, everyone assumes Glitchbear knows everything in FNAF World, and Fredbear is just an NPC game mechanic. But Fredbear seems to know quite a lot. He knows about the flip side and the terrible event there. He knows about glitches and going too deep in the code and how that whole thing works. In the next section, Fredbear even says, "You don't know as much as I do." Despite this, we'll see as we go on that Glitchbear labels everything Fredbear says as unimportant distractions from the real lore path in FNAF World. So Fredbear talks about a lot of the information we've always considered important lore, but Glitchbear says nothing Fredbear says is important. Keep that in mind as we go through the rest of the dialogue. Our very first introduction to Glitchbear starts with, "You don't really believe that." Don't believe what? Which part exactly? That something has gone wrong on the flip side? That something is wrong in Animatronica? I mean, Animatronic Village? Village-tronica? They're working on it.
I think I found a clue as to what is happening. Look behind me. There is a tree that is distorted and glitched. You don't know as much as I do, but I will tell you that this is a safe haven, a sanctuary. Whatever has gone wrong, we have to fix it. It will be an adventure. Something horrible must have happened on the flip side, because it's causing this world to fracture. Objects like the tree behind me have broken, but I think you can use these fractures to get to places you couldn't reach before. You have to go and find the source of these fractures.
Yes, the world beneath the surface world. This is a safe place, a sanctuary. The truth is that there is no safe place. You don't understand that. You were made for one thing. There is a task for you to complete. Before you take this passage, go back. Find the clock. Glitchbear is quoting Fredbear and Spooky Eyes here, who we'll cover later. Well, actually, he's contradicting them. But what does he mean by there is no safe place? That FNAF World was never a safe place to begin with? Back up to earlier when Glitchbear asked if we believed what Fredbear was saying. Something bad must have happened on the flip side. But you don't really believe that, do you? We've always assumed the bad thing that happened on the flip side was the bite of 83, but Glitchbear doesn't seem to believe anything has happened at all. If nothing bad happened, then FNAF World has no reason to be messed up. So if nothing changed, then this is how FNAF World has always been, which matches his "there is no safe place" claim. But then, what is FNAF World?
Great! Be sure to press that button behind you to clear a path for later. That way you won't have to take the long way again. I think a lot of these monsters are misguided side effects of whatever has happened on the flip side. It looks like you can knock some sense into them and they'll join you. How wonderfully convenient! You need to find another subtunnel under the game, and it's probably hidden inside another glitched object. Ahead are the dusting fields. You will probably find the next glitched object there. Be careful, things only get more dangerous from here.
Things don't get more dangerous. You're being played. You're being led through hoops. Meanwhile, the puppet master is laughing at you. You do need to find the dusting fields, but not because there is any urgent adventure ahead. Find the clock. It's pretty agreed upon that the real purpose of FNAF World is to set up the Happiest Day minigames and help CC in some way through the secret clock route. Therefore, the regular FNAF World path of fixing the glitches like Fredbear asks isn't real. It's non-canon gameplay. Right, we know. But expanding on that, not only are the glitches not real, but everything else Fredbear says isn't real either. We're being told over and over by Glitchbear that FNAF World, as it's presented to us, and the terrible thing that happened on the flip side aren't real. They're part of the non-canon story of FNAF World. There is no urgent adventure. There is no safe place. There is no tragedy on the surface world. There is no war in bossing Animatronica. Animatronic Village? Village-tronica? We're working on it.
The subtunnel must be up ahead. However, it looks like something is blocking the path. I'm sure it's nothing you can't handle. I do need to warn you of something though. When you enter a glitched object into a subtunnel, it's possible to find yet another glitched object inside. That will take you into a subtunnel beneath the subtunnel. There may be even more glitched objects there. Just be sure to never go more than 3 glitches down. I'm not sure if you would find your way back up. Be sure to always search for new chips and bytes. They will be a huge help against monsters like the one up ahead.
Play along for now. You are being pulled on a string for his amusement. Don't enter the glitch yet. You need to go into the mine. Find the clock. How does Fredbear know about how many levels to go down? Does he know about Old Man Consequences? It's interesting to me that Glitchbear doesn't comment on the subtunnel levels or Old Man Consequences. We don't have time to get into OMC right now, but I promise I'll make a video about him someday. Back to the dialogue, it's interesting how Glitchbear seems to have animosity towards this puppet master he keeps referring to, who most believe to be Scott. Meta commentary on how Scott and his creations are at odds? Or something more?
You've reached Lilygear Lake. From here, I don't know where your adventure will take you. You should be keeping your eyes open for another glitched object. They are the only way to get to places that are otherwise unreachable. Be careful in the waters of Lilygear Lake. I hear there is a sea monster that attacks at random. Be ready to fight. Good luck.
Yes, well, everything attacks at random, doesn't it? The man who pulls the strings is watching. He allows you to progress. Follow the trail that they have created for you. Play along. There is another mine you must find before entering the glitched object. Find the clock. I think the everything attacks at random bit from Glitchbear is another nod to how nothing in this world is real. We're walking a pretty thin line here with the meta aspect of the game allowing for such commentary versus canon character knowledge. Glitchbear knows FNAF World is a game, but does the character behind Glitchbear, for example, Cassidy, know that? I doubt it. I think there are 2 simultaneous narratives going on here that both line up with FNAF World not being what it seems, one meta and one canon. The meta one is Glitchbear knowing both that this is a video game for real-life people and that his path is lore important as opposed to Fredbear's nonsense. I believe the canon in-game narrative, as the title of this video suggests, is that FNAF World is a sort of purgatory for lost souls. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. Let's return to the dialogue.
This is a horribly spooky place. I think I'll stay right here. You, however, need to keep going. This is a graveyard for broken and unwanted creations. It's full of nastiness and traps. I don't think everything here is as it seems. Check the graves and the trees. This whole place is full of illusion.
One thing is true. Nothing here is as it seems. You will need to find another clock, but the passage will not be easy. There is a secret sub-corridor that leads to Pinwheel Circus under this graveyard. Find the clock. Everything else is a deception. It almost seems like Fredbear and/or the Puppet Master are trying to keep the player away from their true purpose of setting up Happiest Day. Glitchbear keeps mentioning deception, as in someone is actively trying to deceive us, someone who knows the truth. But why would the Puppet Master want to prevent Happiest Day? My guess is that the Puppet Master is Scott, and if anything, it's meta commentary on how he doesn't want to / won't let the series end.
Looks like trouble up ahead, but you should be used to that by now. They say that there is a secret funhouse hidden here in the circus. It must be inside one of the tents. I have to warn you, I've seen 2 giant animatronics roaming the fairgrounds, a giant bear and a giant pig. They look like abominations to me. Also, the funhouse is full of false walls and secret doors. Don't get lost. You are getting close to the core of the game. That's where the problem is.
Another clock should be inside the funhouse. Nothing else matters. Don't be deceived by the one pulling the strings. Fredbear says we're getting close to the core of the game. The game? Fredbear has started acknowledging that things here aren't real. I know there are a lot of fourth wall breaks in this game, but he's fully dropped the pretext of Animatronica and the flip side and is just being straight up about being in a game. He does it again in the next section. Seems like the illusion is starting to fall apart.
You found the exit. That's amazing. The giant pig lies on the other side of this subtunnel. He guards a key that opens the lock to the final guardians. Each guardian protects a button. Once you have found and pressed the buttons, the gates protecting the game's security system will be lowered. That's when you can strike at the heart of whatever's corrupting this world. Navigate your way through the subtunnels, but remember, don't go more than 3 glitches down. Good luck.
Attacking the game's security system will not accomplish anything. Get the key, but ignore the Guardians. If you have succeeded in setting the clocks, then your true goal will be revealed once you have the key. I'm getting suspicious of Fredbear. The game's security system is now the problem. If you follow that path, you end up beating Scott's avatar, Animdude. So he's what's corrupting the world? What about the terrible thing on the flip side? Scott is the terrible thing? That would mean the flip side is referring to the real human world. That further backs up Glitchbear's dismissal of the flip side and the terrible thing. But wait, back up. If a terrible thing happened in the game world flip side, it's got to be referring to Cece's death. If so, then the way to save Animatronica... never mind. The way to save FNAF World would be saving Cece, which is what Glitchbear is trying to achieve, not Fredbear. Fredbear has been leading us around on this useless glitch quest in this fantasy world for no reason, even though he too knows it's all a game. So, is Fredbear the puppet master? Is Fredbear leading us to destroy Scott? Is he Scott? Either the terrible thing is the Bite of 83 and Fredbear is lying and misdirecting us on purpose, or the terrible thing is Scott, nothing happened in the game world, and Fredbear really is just an NPC.
This is it. This is the path to the game's security system. If you have found all the buttons, then your path should be clear. The security system has powerful defenses. Make sure you have someone with a shield ability. You won't survive without it.
I will tell you a secret. There are powerful chips that can only be attained by breaking the game, the red chests. There are objects you can press against, and it will break your collision detection. One is a yellow bird on a tree stump. Another is a gravestone. Find these places to gain an unfair advantage. That is, if you insist on following this path that has been forcefully placed before you. Mentioning collision detection makes my head hurt. It's quite difficult to parse what's useful lore and what's fourth wall breaking FNAF World meta shenanigans. Alright, that's the end of the Glitchbear and Fredbear dialogue that we're covering today. The Halloween update doesn't have any lore, and it's a big chunk of dialogue, so I'm going to skip it for time's sake. The mobile port is nonsense, and I already covered it in a previous video. We're going to cover Spooky Eyes' dialogue in the next chapter, but first, let's review what we've learned so far. On the surface, FNAF World is a story, a facade, a fun game where you follow fake glitches to defeat a fake boss to save a fake world from a fake terrible event on a fake surface world.
Something horrible must have happened on the flip side, because it's causing this world to fracture. You have to go and find the source of these fractures. You are getting close to the core of the game. That is where the problem is. The gates protecting the game's security system will be lowered. That's when you can strike at the heart of whatever is corrupting this world.
Animdude, an avatar from the real-life surface world, is what we find in the game's security system, corrupting the world. Nothing related to the in-universe surface world or any in-universe terrible event. Glitchbear never mentions terrible events on the surface world. In fact, Glitchbear tells us there is no urgent adventure to fix FNAF World from the corruption that Fredbear says is caused by the terrible event. Glitchbear tells us everything we're being told is a lie. But you don't really believe that, do you? There is a task for you to complete. The truth is that there is no safe place. You are being led through hoops, but not because there is any urgent adventure ahead. Nothing here is as it seems. Find the clock. Everything else is a deception. Don't be deceived by the one pulling the strings. Attacking the game's security system will not accomplish anything. So what does this tell us, and what does it have to do with FNAF World being purgatory? Well, from this, we can surmise that the Bite of 83 was not the catalyst for FNAF World. There was no terrible event on the surface that spurred Glitchbear into action. This means FNAF World is not centered around Cece in the way that we thought it was. This explains the huge time gap between the Bite of 83 and the occurrence of Happiest Day, which likely happened somewhere in the 2010s after FNAF 3. Think about it. If the Bite of 83 was what caused Glitchbear to create the Happiest Day minigames, he was really taking his sweet time with it. I'm no expert on helping the murdered souls of children stuffed in animatronic mascots move on via magical minigames or anything, but I feel like 30 years to set up a party is a lot. It would make more sense if there was something else that caused Glitch Bear to set up Happiest Day. FNAF World's clock ending still helps Cece move on, as seen from the dialogue about leaving breadcrumbs for him and the Happiest Day minigames being referenced in FNAF 4. But it's more than that. It's more than him. In fact, I believe FNAF World is actually about the MCI. There's one more character's dialogue we haven't gone over yet, Spooky Eyes. This character shows up at the beginning of FNAF World and again at the end of Glitch Bear's secret clock route. Everything that happens out there has an effect here. Do you understand? This is a safe place. This is a sanctuary. But something has gone wrong, and now it can be seen here. Something went very wrong. That's why I am here. But I won't let the same happen to you. I will put you back together. We are still your friends. Do you believe that? The pieces are in place for you. All you have to do is find them. Rest. So, first question, who is Spooky Eyes? Side note, I'm going to say he as a placeholder pronoun for simplicity's sake. This doesn't mean I'm ruling out Charlie, Cassidy, or any other female characters. Now, you would probably assume Spooky Eyes is Glitch Bear at first, but like I mentioned earlier, Glitch Bear contradicts him. This is a safe place. The truth is that there is no safe place. So what gives? Well, either they're the same character and he's lying in one, or they're two different characters. But wait, there's more. Spooky Eyes also has nearly the same dialogue as the speaker at the end of FNAF 4. And both Glitch Bear and the end speaker are heavily associated with Plush Bear, so throw him in the mix too. You're broken. We are still your friends. Do you still believe that? I'm still here. I will put you back together. I will put you back together. We are still your friends. Do you believe that? The difference in dialogue is interesting. FNAF World's dialogue isn't the same conversation as when Cece was dying. There are a few things this could mean. 1. Spooky Eyes isn't in speaker and is just copying him to connect with Cece or for some other reason. 2. Spooky Eyes is in speaker and is having a different but similar conversation with Cece's spirit after he dies. 3. Spooky Eyes is in speaker and is talking to someone else. So now we have 4 contenders in the miscellaneous mystery bear contest. Plush Bear, End Speaker, Spooky Eyes, and Glitch Bear. Are they all the same? Spooky has similar dialogue to End Speaker, and End Speaker is suggested to be Plush Bear, and Plush Bear looks just like Glitch Bear, who talks about putting pieces in place like Spooky does. So it seems like, yes, they're all one big happy, spooky, glitchy bear family. So if we discover the identity of one of them, we get them all. Well, maybe. Let's back up to what Spooky says in the beginning and try to narrow this down a bit. Something went very wrong. That's why I am here. But I won't let the same happen to you. I've always heard this line as, something went wrong, the bite, that's why you're here, and now I'm here to save you. But that's not what he says. He says something went wrong, and that's why I'm here, and I won't let that happen to you. Is Spooky trapped here? There must be something bad about being here because he won't let it happen to you. So the person Spooky is talking to isn't here in FNAF World. Glitch Bear tells us FNAF World isn't a safe place, which lines up with Spooky trying to save whoever he's talking to from the fate of being stuck here too. He wants you to rest, to move on, to not be here. So if being here equals not moving on, aka a restless soul, then FNAF World is where restless souls go. FNAF World is a place for souls that can't move on. A sort of purgatory, basically. That's why Old Man Consequences appears in both FNAF World and Ultimate Custom Night. Well, if you believe Ultimate Custom Night is purgatory, which I do. Let's go even further. FNAF World links to Happiest Day, which helps the MCI, minus Cassidy, Cece, and the puppet move on. The clock puzzles set up the Happiest Day minigames. Those minigames, in turn, find the MCI kids where they're lost in FNAF World's purgatory and bring them to the party. But why are the MCI the only ones who need to be found? You don't need to play the minigames to find the puppet or Cece. They're already at the party. Well, consider this. The MCI need to be found because their bodies need to be found. It's a common theme throughout FNAF media that souls can't move on if they can't find their bodies. The MCI don't know where their bodies are due to Afton stuffing them in suits after they died. I mean, if the police couldn't find their bodies, how are a bunch of dead 7-year-olds supposed to? The puppet is different. Her body wasn't hidden. She knows what happened to her.
But I am very aware. I recognize you.
Instead of being lost like the MCI, she remains of her own accord to help protect them. Cece isn't lost in FNAF World either. He's trapped in his own mind, a memory loop created from his agony. His body isn't lost, so he doesn't need to be found like the MCI. He needs to break out of his agony loop by rewriting the memory of his death with a happy birthday party surrounded by his friends. That's why he can't move on without the MCI. They're his friends. These are my friends. We are still your friends. Whether this means the MCI were actually friends with Cece when he was alive or that their spirits befriended him somehow after death doesn't really matter. What matters is that Cece needs to find friends for his party to move on. The MCI need to be found to move on. Charlie needs to make sure everyone is good before she moves on. They can save everyone with one party. It's quite convenient, actually. So back to Spooky's dialogue and identity. The option that makes the most sense is that Spooky is the same character as the end speaker in FNAF 4, with nearly identical dialogue in back-to-back games. We can guess he's talking to Cece, based on both the other conversation being with Cece and Spooky being eyes in a black void. We know from the security logbook that Cece can't see, so his perspective, being eyes in a void, makes sense. Now, the big question, why is he lying? FNAF World isn't and was never a safe place. Well, like we previously established, Cece isn't in FNAF World. He's not lost in Purgatory. He's stuck in a memory loop. This conversation isn't happening in FNAF World. It's happening in his mind with someone who is in FNAF World, telling him they won't let this happen to him too. Who would be a lost soul stuck in FNAF World that's also able to communicate with Cece's spirit to try to protect him? Probably the person sharing a suit with him. So why is Cassidy lying about the safe place? To be honest, it's probably to comfort Cece.
Hey, you, wake up and realize you're dead.
Isn't really the best way to talk to a 5-year-old. In my previous video, I discussed what I think is going on in FNAF 4. The Easter eggs throughout the game are both the breadcrumbs to Happiest Day and pieces of the present leaking into Cece's memory. Why is Cece seeing references to Springtrap in his memory loop? Because everything out there has an effect in here. Look, things are happening out there. Do you understand? This isn't real. Look for the pieces. You're in a safe place now. You can wake up. It's just a memory. Something bad happened and I'm stuck here in this suit, in this world. But you don't have to be. Did they break you too? I'll put you back together. Cassidy helps find the MCI where their souls are lost in FNAF World. The puppet gathers them for the party. Cece finds the pieces Cassidy leaves to break out of his memory loop and join the party. They all move on. Your friends are here for you. Do you believe that? Find the pieces. Follow the breadcrumbs. Open your eyes. Everyone's here. It's time for your party. Rest. So, let's use what we've learned to answer the questions I posed at the beginning of this lecture. Who is the player of FNAF World? You, the actual human player you. We know this based on Glitchbear's fourth wall breaks. He can't be talking to an in-universe character about collision detection in the game. That makes no sense. Who is Adventure Fredbear? A non-canon NPC of the non-canon FNAF World route. We know this based on Glitchbear's dismissal of everything he says and conflation of Fredbear with the Puppet Master, Scott, who is part of the non-canon route. Who is Glitchbear and what is his goal? Glitchbear is mostly part of the game, but he also represents Cassidy setting up Happiest Day. When he talks about collision detection and FNAF World's surface route being a video game, it's just the game being meta. But within the universe, Cassidy sets up Happiest Day, so he's a representation of her. Who is Spooky Eyes and what is his goal? Spooky Eyes is, you guessed it, also Cassidy. This is in-universe Cassidy, not half meta like Glitchbear. So the overall goal of Happiest Day is the same. The goal of his dialogue is to comfort Cece and encourage him to find his way out of the loop. The repeating dialogue also serves to double down on Cassidy being Plush Bear and the in-speaker in FNAF 4. What is FNAF World? FNAF World is split into two parts. The non-canon surface game with the glitches and terrible event caused by Scott that corrupts the world, and the clock route with Glitch Bear to set up Happiest Day by finding the MCI. Within the FNAF universe, FNAF World is purgatory for lost souls. Why does it matter, and how does it tie into the narrative? FNAF World further explains how Happiest Day works after the confusion from FNAF 4. It tells us why the MCI are needed for Cece to move on, and why they're the only ones who need to be found for Happiest Day. It ties the MCI, Cece, and Charlie together, as well as showing Cassidy's importance in the lore. Her connection with both the MCI in Faz-Purgatory and Cece by sharing a suit put her in the unique position to bring everyone together to move on. She's the only one who can set up Happiest Day. FNAF 4 kind of threw random lore at us that seemed very important but didn't fit in anywhere. FNAF World shows us how it all connects. So basically, it's 1983. A prank goes wrong and Cece gets chomped. Terrified in his final moments, betrayed by his own brother, angry he'll never get the happy party he wanted, he can't move on. Instead, he lives out the week over and over in his memories, dying again and again, unable to save himself, agony growing with each loop. Later, Charlie is murdered and possesses the puppet. She notices the ever-growing cloud of pure agony coming from the decommissioned yellow bear in the safe room. She can't reach him. She wants to help, but she doesn't know how. What she does know is that the guy who killed her is still around, so she sticks around too. She can't save Cece, and she couldn't save herself, but maybe she can save the next one. She can't. 5 more kids get murdered. It happens in the safe room where animatronics can't go, so the puppet can't follow. But she can guide the wandering spirits of the kids into the animatronics, giving them new life in the form of a new body, just like what happened to her. Despite possessing the animatronics, the souls of the MCI are still lost without their real bodies. She leads and protects them, unable to do anything else. Meanwhile, Cassidy is stuck with Agony Loop Child and Golden Freddy. Despite being a lost soul stuck in FNAF World, her proximity to Cece also allows her to enter his memory loop. She's the only one who can reach both Cece and the MCI. Her friends need to be found, and this kid looks like he needs some friends. Time to throw a party. She sends party invites to her besties in Faz-Purgatory and the weird sad kid too. The puppet helps shepherd everyone along, and together they all move on with their happiest day. Cassidy, however, remains. There's something she needs to take care of. Or rather, someone. And that's it. I believe FNAF World is the purgatory in which the MCI's lost souls are trapped. Their bodies are missing, so they can't move on. Charlie and Cece's bodies aren't lost, but they can't move on for their own reasons. Charlie wants to help the others first. Cece is stuck in a memory loop. Cassidy is lost like the MCI, but she can also reach Cece, so she helps save both her friends and unexpected roommate. She's resigned herself to a fate of eternal torment with Afton, but she won't let that happen to them. She helps them move on, without her. So, what do you think of Faz-Purgatory? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching. My name is Professor Petal, and this concludes another session of FNAF-ology 101. Class dismissed.